Hey everyone, this is your stimulus check update, second and third stimulus check update for Friday, January 15th. Last night, President-elect Joe Biden unveiled his $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. In this video, I'm going to be going over what's in it, the details on the third stimulus check, the timeline for the third stimulus check, and the chances of it actually happening. I'm also going to be going over the other provisions in this $1.9 trillion stimulus plan, including the eviction moratorium extension, increased benefits for food stamp recipients, money for rental assistance, as well as many other provisions that are in this $1.9 trillion plan. But I'm going to be mostly focusing on the stimulus checks in this video. In December, they passed a bill for $600 stimulus checks for individuals, while President Trump was calling for $2,000 stimulus checks. Well, Joe Biden jumped on board and called for $2,000 stimulus checks as well, and with him taking office here in 5 days, his plan was laid out last night. This plan calls for an additional $1,400 stimulus checks to bump up the second and third stimulus checks to a total of $2,000. The Senate, now with the two Democrats winning in the Georgia runoff elections, is now controlled by the Democrats. They also hold a slim majority in the House of Representatives, with 222 Democrats to 211 Republicans. That, and with the Biden-Harris administration set to take over, the Democrats do control the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. So what's in this $1.9 trillion stimulus plan? Well, there's a lot of provisions, so I'm going to try and go over them quickly. First off, $1,400 stimulus checks. I'm going to go over all the details of that in a couple minutes in this video. Increased unemployment benefits to $400 per week, and also extend it until September of this year. $25 billion in rental assistance, which is in addition to the $25 billion that was in the bill that was passed in December. $5 billion to help struggling renters to help pay for utility bills, $5 billion for states to help those at risk for homelessness, extend the federal eviction moratorium until September 30th of this year, extend the 15% increase in food stamp benefits until September, $3 billion to help women, infants, and children secure food, $1 billion to U.S. territories such as Puerto Rico and other territories. Also partner with restaurants to provide food to needy Americans and jobs to laid off restaurant workers, $25 billion for an emergency fund, and also to add $15 billion to help child care providers pay rent, utilities, payroll, and increased costs associated with the pandemic for those child care provider organizations. This would also boost the child tax credit to $3,600 for children under 6 and increase it to $3,000 for children ages 6 to 17. This would also raise the earned income credit to $1,500. They would also subsidize the health insurance premiums of those who lost their jobs and their health insurance during the pandemic. This would also include $4 billion for mental health and substance use disorder services, $20 billion to meet healthcare needs of veterans, reinstate paid sick leave and family leave and increase it to 14 weeks of paid leave, $15 billion for new programs for small business owners, $35 billion for low-interest loans for entrepreneurs, $350 billion to state and local governments, $20 billion to public transit agencies, $170 billion to K-12 schools, colleges, and universities, $20 billion for a national vaccination program, $50 billion for coronavirus testing. And it would also raise the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour. Those are most of the provisions in the new stimulus proposal. Well, I know most of you want to hear about the stimulus checks. Well, the third stimulus checks would be a part of this stimulus plan. It would be $1,400 per person, and that includes adult dependents. He did talk about adult dependents and said that there would be no age limit on the $1,400. As long as you're below the income threshold, you would receive the $1,400 stimulus check. Now, he didn't specifically talk about an income threshold changing, so it's at least at this point the assumption that the income threshold would stay the same as the previous two stimulus checks. So under Biden's plan, a family of 4 would receive $1,400 for both parents, and the 2 children would receive $5,600. And once again, adult dependents, at least as of now, would be included in this plan. So adult dependents would receive $1,400. So those are the details of the third stimulus check. But what kind of timeline are we looking at for the third stimulus check? Well, Biden and Harris will be inaugurated on January 20th, 5 days from now. After that, the 2 senators from Georgia that just won the runoff election will be seated on January 22nd. On January 22nd, then the White House will be controlled by the Democrats, the House of Representatives will be controlled by the Democrats, and the Senate, with the tiebreaker vote from Kamala Harris, will be controlled by the Democrats. This is one of the top priorities that Joe Biden is saying he starts his administration. So they're going to be pushing quickly to pass this in Congress. If it does pass in Congress and there's not a lot of deliberation and not a lot of pushback, then it could happen as early as February that we would start seeing stimulus checks. I think that may be a little optimistic because everything would have to perfectly fall into place in order for these third stimulus checks to happen early in February. But there is a possibility that it could happen. Depending on how the negotiations go, and if all the Democrats jump on board and that there aren't any defectors, then this could happen fairly quickly. If they're trying to pack in other items and other things into this stimulus proposal, that would slow things down. And if there are some Democrats that oppose this, then they would have to get some Republican senators to jump on board as well. So what are the chances that this third stimulus check actually becomes a reality? Well, I think right now the chances are actually pretty good. While the Democrats do hold the majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate, and as we talked about with Biden and Harris, there are a few senators that are concerned about the amount of sending more stimulus checks out to the individuals with this same income threshold. And one of those is Senator Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat in West Virginia. He has said he doesn't want to send out more stimulus with these same income thresholds. So the possibility of them changing that income threshold is there, although I don't think that that's, at least right now, that's not part of Biden's plan. Another one of the critics of this plan, although her criticism is that these stimulus checks are not enough, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has said that the $2,000 stimulus checks, or the extra $1,400 to make the past 2 stimulus checks $2,000, is not enough and that they need to do more. So there are a few people in the Democrat side that are not 100% on board with this proposal. However, at least one senator or a couple senators on the Republican side would probably vote for this, one of which is Josh Hawley, who has been calling for $2,000 stimulus checks for weeks now. Marco Rubio seemingly has also jumped aboard and would go along with these $2,000 stimulus checks, although it remains to be seen if everything else that is in this $1.9 trillion proposal would make some other senators, even on the Democrats and Republican side, pause a little bit and maybe question a few of these things in this $1.9 trillion proposal. As of now, Joe Biden wants $1,400 stimulus checks. They would go out to all those that received the first and second stimulus check, as well as those that are adult dependents, those 17 and up that were left out of the first 2 stimulus checks. With the Democrats in power, I think there's a better chance of these happening than there has been previously. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If you want 2 free stocks from Webull, sign up in my link below. You get 2 free stocks after you deposit $100. And if you deposit that $100 to Webull and you want your $100 back, you want to just keep your 2 free stocks, you can actually withdraw that $100 after you receive your 2 free stocks. If you're interested, I have a link in the description below. Get 2 free stocks from Webull after you deposit $100. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon.